What happens when a star disappears, then returns, stronger than ever? These LGBTQ+ icons prove that sometimes the quietest comebacks can shake the world the loudest. Some stars vanish at their peak, others crash in scandal. But the most unforgettable ones, they return stronger, louder, and more unapologetically queer than ever. From Hollywood rebels to pop icons who redefine themselves, these are the most shocking LGBTQ+ comebacks you'll ever see. In the ever-changing world of gay on-screen stories, Dino Fetcher was once a familiar face but had a hard time finding a place. Handsome, talented, but always hesitant, waiting for a breakthrough. He first appeared in Russell T Davies' Cucumber and Banana, receiving many compliments but still being framed in supporting roles. To the audience, he was a promising actor but still not famous. And then he disappeared. While many expected him to rely on his initial success to become a star, Dino made the unconventional decision to withdraw. But his silence was not a surrender, but a strategy. He spent time studying theater, honing his skills, and most importantly, protecting the authenticity of his acting career. He refused to play stereotypical roles, refused to play roles that considered gay characters to be cliches. "I don't want to play gay characters just for the sake of being gay," he says. "I want them to be themselves." For a while, his absence left fans wondering if his time had passed. Then his return changed everything. In 2022, Dino returned in the Apple TV+ sci-fi classic Foundation, playing Glauin Kerr, a gay character built with dignity and depth. He's not a laughingstock. He's not a pushover. He's central, layered, and compelling. The years away had changed him. Critics noticed, casting directors noticed. Dino wasn't just back, he was undeniable. Momentum was building. In Years and Years, another Davies project, Dino took on a pivotal role in a dystopian drama that required subtlety and raw emotion. He delivered a compelling performance, turning quiet resilience into an unforgettable presence. His return was not one of noise, but of precision. Each scene proved that his time off was for preparation, not retreat. What made his return so shocking was the way he chose to do it. No tabloid scandal, no reckless rebranding, no viral gimmicks, just careful choices, talent, and a quiet refusal to compromise. On the red carpet, Dino exuded quiet power. Velvet jackets, open collars, a touch of nail polish, a pearl earring. He didn't flaunt his queer identity, but he embraced it fully. Beyond acting, he's used his new platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ mental health and push for more authentic, nuanced portrayals of gay men on screen. His impact goes beyond his roles. It signals a new standard of presence built on integrity. Now, anticipation surrounds his next chapter. Dino is reportedly set to star in a major queer romance miniseries slated for 2025. A project that could cement his status as one of the defining actors of his generation. Vogue has called him a remarkable actor in an age of quiet power. Fans around the world, long aware of his potential, are finally seeing him get the recognition he deserves. Because Dino Fetcher doesn't need a scandal to become mainstream. He doesn't need chaos to stay popular. What he needs is time. Time to grow up, to make careful choices, and to come back at the right time. And when the moment came, he returned to the spotlight stronger, sharper, and impossible to ignore. His story proves that in Hollywood, the most shocking comebacks aren't always the loudest. Sometimes they're the quietest ones, smooth, authentic, and unforgettable. Dino Fetcher reminds us that presence doesn't need volume to make an impact. Hollywood's icon of chaos is irrevocable. No celebrity comeback in recent memory has been more controversial or shocking than this one. Once hailed as a bold, gender-bending breakout star, Ezra has become a contradiction. One year red carpet royalty, the next a tabloid headliner. From the perks of being a wallflower to unforgettable Met Gala fashion moments, Ezra has built a reputation as someone unafraid to push boundaries. They're quirky, strange, charismatic, powerful. And then, suddenly, it all comes crashing down. From 2020 to 2022, Ezra's name has become less about art and more about scandal. Arrests in Hawaii, violent brawls in Iceland, allegations of unusual behavior spread faster than their movie titles. A wave of disturbing headlines followed them from around the world, painting a picture of chaos that even the most loyal fans struggled to contain. And through it all, Ezra remained largely silent. No heartfelt interviews, no elaborate PR stunts, just a disappearance. Not a statement, not a single appearance. For a while, it seemed as though the once iconic career was over, especially as Warner Brothers faced enormous pressure to cancel The Flash, a nearly $200 million film with Ezra at its center. Many felt it was unlikely that someone so embroiled in such a public controversy would ever return to the big screen, let alone regain Hollywood's attention. But in 2023, against all odds, Ezra Miller came back. Not with a tell-all memoir, not with a tearful apology tour, not even with a new brand. They came back with a show. The Flash premiered worldwide, and Ezra appeared, strutting down the Los Angeles red carpet in a jet black suit, silver chains glittering, his face calm and almost melancholy. They thanked the studio, they thanked the fans. They didn't brag, they didn't make excuses. They just walked, posed, and let the cameras roll. And in that restrained return, the entire film industry looked up. Because amid all the chaos, one truth remained. Ezra's talent was undeniable. The film itself was a financial failure, but critics pointed to its greatest strength as Ezra's humorous, painful, and emotional portrayal of the Barry Allen brothers, capturing pain, loss, and time in a way that reminded audiences why Ezra mattered in the first place. Then, just as quickly as they had reappeared, they disappeared. But this absence felt different. No arrests, no viral incidents, just silence. Fans began to whisper. Was this the calm before a makeover? Was a new chapter about to begin? By 2024, speculation was rife. Independent directors were reportedly approaching Ezra for smaller, bolder projects. There were rumors of a gay art film. Stylists teased experimental looks that were waiting. Ezra's name was no longer shorthand for scandal. It became a question mark, a source of curiosity. What made their return so shocking was the way it went against the usual Hollywood script. They didn't apologize for the favors. They didn't beg for forgiveness. They simply came back and let the story run its course. Ezra Miller remains one of the most complex figures in gay celebrity culture. A reminder that fame, rebellion, and recklessness often go hand in hand. Whether you love him or not, whether you defend him or deny him, one thing is undeniable. Ezra Miller is here, still part of the conversation and still indelible. Ignore both of these if you believe that a comeback doesn't have to be clean to be successful. Sometimes the shock lies in refusing to go away. The internet sensation who disappeared, then reclaimed the throne. When Red, White, and Royal Blue was released in 2023, the internet not only swooned, it exploded. And at the center of that craze was Taylor Zakhar Perez, the impossibly charming, hypnotically handsome actor who played Alex Claremont Diaz as if he were born to be the person queer people fell in love with. Born in Chicago in 1991 to Mexican-American parents, Taylor had both Hollywood looks and authentic cultural roots, instantly making him stand out in an industry that often ignored Latinx voices. But just when it seemed like he was everywhere, he suddenly wasn't. After the film went viral, the TikTok edits, the fan art, the buzz, the Twitter goosebumps, fans expected Taylor to explode into a full-fledged superstar. Press tours, magazine covers, big brand deals, a slew of new roles. But instead, there was silence. No announced projects, no big interviews, just the occasional soft-lit Instagram post or photo with his dog. Fans began to wonder, where did Taylor Zachar Perez go? Some believed he was taking a much-needed break. Others speculated that Hollywood didn't know how to cast him, too queer for straight romances, too ambiguous for openly gay roles. In an industry obsessed with labels, his refusal to label seemed both powerful and confining. And then, just as curiosity was peaking, Taylor was back. Not with a press release, not with a staged publicity stunt, but with a transformation so dramatic that the internet sensed it before he said a word. He re-emerged at Paris Fashion Week, wearing a sheer black blouse, pearl earrings, and tailored trousers with a daring hint of hip bone. The effect was dramatic. Photographers went wild. LGBT Twitter lost its empathy. His Instagram caption, just one emoji, burn. The message was clear. He wasn't hiding. He was evolving. The comeback wasn't just about fashion, it was a statement of intent. In a later interview, Taylor admitted that he'd spent time figuring out what he wanted, what career, what level of visibility, and what kind of story he felt comfortable telling. Those choices now include rumored roles in 2 gay-themed dramas, and most importantly, a personal project exploring Mexican-American LGBTQ+ identity. For Taylor, it's not about jumping at the first opportunity. It's about connecting his work to meaning and authenticity. What makes his comeback so compelling isn't just his looks, though frankly, they're impossible to ignore. It's his strategy, his restraint, his refusal to fit into Hollywood's mold. Taylor lets the public project their fantasies onto him, only to slowly and confidently channel that energy into something deeper and more real. Whether he identifies as straight, gay, or a beautiful, ambiguous person, one thing is certain. Taylor Zachar Perez has become a living symbol of modern masculinity, slinky, fearless, and irresistible. He's not fading, nor did he fade away. He strategically, quietly, then re-entered as if he had never left, only hotter, wiser, and in full control of his story. In an industry that loves labels, his ambiguity is his strength. And in a culture that craves authentic queer icons, his return was more than welcome. It was unforgettable. Let go of 2 points if Taylor's slow return reminds you that not all stars fade. Some step back, let the world wait, and then come back brighter than ever. Ricky Martin. The man who made the world dance, then quietly disappeared, only to return stronger, braver, and more remorseless than ever. Born in Puerto Rico on Christmas Eve 1971, Ricky was destined for the stage. He started as a teen idol with the boy band Menudo, then transformed into an international superstar, dubbed the King of Latin Pop. By the late 90s, his crossover hit Livin' La Vida Loca had not only topped the charts, but also catapulted Latin pop into global popularity. Ricky was everywhere. World tours, magazine covers, Grammys, stadiums chanting his name. He was more than just an entertainer. He was a phenomenon. But after that dizzying peak, Ricky faded from the spotlight. He was still working, yes, but not at the height of his late 90s career. He had albums, roles, and appearances, but the intensity had waned. To the outside world, he seemed to be slowing down. Behind the scenes, he was carrying a secret even heavier than his fame: his identity. For years, the superstar turned global sex symbol avoided questions about his sexuality. Rumors swirled, tabloids reported, but Ricky remained silent. The silence was deafening, and the pressure was immense. Then, in 2010, everything changed. With a single statement posted online, Ricky Martin came out as gay. It was more than a personal revelation. It was a cultural earthquake. The world's most famous Latin pop icon, long idolized for his charm and charisma, had the courage to stand up for his truth. For millions of LGBTQ+ fans, especially in Latin America, where discrimination still runs deep, Ricky's authenticity was a lifesaver. For the entertainment industry, it was a wake-up call. Queer artists don't have to hide to thrive. And Ricky didn't just come out, he came back. In 2011, he released Musica plus Alma Sexo, an album that said it all: music, soul, and sex. It was a rebirth, energized, and authentic. He took to the stage with a new fire, his performances richer because they were authentic. Fans who had once admired his image now celebrated the person, complete with his authenticity. The world saw Ricky Martin as a superstar in 1999, but in 2011, they saw Ricky Martin as a whole person. Since then, Ricky's influence has extended far beyond music. He's become one of the most prominent LGBTQ+ activists on the planet, using his platform to fight for equality and acceptance. Through the Ricky Martin Foundation, he speaks out against human trafficking, supports youth initiatives, and fights for LGBTQ+ rights in places where visibility can mean risk. Red carpets, UN conferences, pride festivals, Ricky doesn't just perform, he leads. What makes Ricky Martin's return so shocking isn't just that he survived the scrutiny of a world that once punished gay icons. It's that he thrives in it. His authenticity didn't end his career, it reignited it. He took back control of his narrative, from pop sensation to cultural pioneer. Today, he continues to tour, release music, and inspire fans who see him not just as an artist, but as a pioneer who changed what it means to be true to yourself in the spotlight. Because Ricky Martin's greatest comeback wasn't just musical, it was personal. He reminded the world that truth can be more powerful than image, and that courage can redefine a legacy. Drop a 4 if Ricky's return proved to you that the bravest comebacks aren't measured in chart positions, but in the power of finally saying, "This is who I am." And now, we want to hear from you. What country are you watching from? And among the stars in this list, whose comeback do you find the most powerful and inspiring? Troye Sivan, a name that could have been a whisper turned into a roar. Born in South Africa and raised under the Australian sun, Troy's story didn't begin with stadium lights or a record deal. It began with a laptop camera and a teenage boy uploading songs to the vastness of the internet. His voice was soft but powerful, a sound that cut through the glitz and went straight to the heart. He wasn't a product of nature. He was discovered by kids like him, late-night web surfers looking for someone who felt real. And then, silence. Just as his following grew, Troy retreated. The videos slowed, the images faded, and the boy he'd once felt close to seemed to disappear. In a digital age where most young artists struggle to stay relevant, Troy's retreat was puzzling. To some, it might have felt like he'd missed his moment. But for Troy, it was necessary. He wasn't walking away from music, he was walking toward himself. That self-discovery blossomed in 2015 with Blue Neighborhood. It wasn't just an album, it was an arrival. Fresh, emotional, and bold, it put gay love stories at the forefront in a way pop music rarely dared. The single Youth became an anthem, not because it was radio-friendly, but because it sounded like a confession set to music. And with its release, Troy came out publicly about his sexuality. In a world that often demands silence from gay performers, his openness was as revolutionary as the music itself. He wasn't just singing songs, he was reshaping pop music. Over the next few years, Troy found his stride. His 2018 album Bloom leaned into the sensual, blending playful innuendo with raw emotion. He became a fashionista, collaborating with icons, creating fluid looks, and effortlessly bridging the gap between pop and queer art. But even at the height of his success, there was a sense that Troy was holding something back, that the story wasn't over. In 2023, he proved it. With Rush, Troy broke the internet. The song was full of energy, the kind that demanded to be played loud and alive. Its music video, part party, part dream, was unabashedly queer. Bare bodies pressed together, the chemistry was palpable, and Troy was at the center, no longer the shy kid behind the webcam, but a provocateur daring the world to look. He's not hinting at desire, he's flaunting it. It's a surprise. Troy isn't back, he's transformed. Rush isn't just a comeback single, it's a coronation. Troy has evolved from a bedroom balladeer to a full-fledged Gen Z gay sex symbol. For fans, it's not just pop, it's permission. Permission to want, to dance, to exist without apology. Troy's journey is proof that reinvention doesn't always mean falling apart and recovering. Sometimes it means stepping back, recalibrating, it's then coming back sharper, freer, and braver than before. From internet kid to international star, from whispers of youth to beats of desire, Troye Sivan has proven that the most shocking comebacks are the ones that reveal who you were meant to be. Drop a heart if Troy's transformation has lit a fire under you. And don't forget, subscribe, ring the bell, and share this video with your friends and family so they can feel the energy of comebacks that change everything too. From heartthrob to gay Hollywood king, Nicholas is best known for his Cinderella-esque roles. Sweet, British, classically handsome. The kind of actor Hollywood likes to cast as a safe, straightforward, slightly boring love interest. He looked like the perfect prince, and for a while, that's exactly how the industry treated him. But then things changed. Over the past 2 years, Nicholas has gone from rising talent to star in a crowd. Thanks to his breakout roles in gay romances that not only tease but deliver, he's become the face of a new kind of leading man. From Purple Hearts to Red, White, and Royal Blue, his characters are anything but stereotypical. They're emotionally open, tender, and undeniably gay-coded. And audiences more than recognize it, they embraced him. But it wasn't always that way. After Cinderella, Nicholas was in danger of becoming stuck in a box. Neat, commercial, safe. The film industry didn't know what to do with him beyond superficial roles. But Nicholas refused the easy path. Instead of chasing cliches, he threw himself into unique scripts and layered characters that made people wonder, wait, is that him? That question alone signaled a change. His role as Prince Henry in Red, White, and Royal Blue marked a turning point. Soft, reserved, yearning for connection. Nicholas gave a performance that wasn't just romantic, it was deeply human. Audiences didn't just root for Henry. They saw themselves in him. The vulnerability, the longing, the weight of silence. And Nicholas didn't shy away from the spotlight. In interviews, he was always up for the task. "It's an honor to tell gay love stories," he said. "If I can bring tenderness and authenticity to them, I will." Then, just as the attention was peaking, Nicholas disappeared. No major headlines. No new roles announced. Instagram was quiet. Fans speculated. Was he protecting his image, waiting for the perfect script, or simply catching his breath after the whirlwind? Whatever the reason, the silence worked, because when he returned, he was determined. The red carpet became his runway. The sheer tops, pearl necklaces, slick-back hair, and luxury labels exuded a quirky elegance. Magazine pages showed him in soft light, close-ups of lips and shadows, full of ambiguity. The buzz about the film was widespread. A queer biopic with a twist, a psychological thriller laced with gay tension, even rumors of a music project. Nicholas didn't just aim for the queer look, he owned it. And the internet responded in a big way. Editing, fan fiction, analyzing every frame, every glance, every smirk. The LGBT Twitter community hailed him as the leading man they'd always wanted, even if he'd never confirmed anything about his personal life. Because the truth is, Nicholas Galitzine may not have come out, but his work, his energy, his presence were synonymous with queer stories. That's what made him so popular. He didn't have to make a statement. He doesn't need to define or defend himself. He just shows up with his beauty, his tenderness, his complexity, and lets the world decide. Nicholas Galitzine is more than just a comeback. He represents a new kind of leading man, one who proves that tenderness, ambiguity, and emotional intimacy can be just as powerful as any loud comeback. The voice they tried to silence but couldn't. When Adam first burst onto the global stage on American Idol in 2009, he wasn't just any contestant. He was a literal glitter bomb exploding into America's living rooms. Eyeliner smeared like war paint, skin that clung to the fabric like body armor, a voice as high as a rock opera, and an unabashedly gay presence on primetime television. It was explosive. It was shocking. It was unforgettable. But with fame came backlash. After his infamous performance at the 2009 American Music Awards, where he kissed a male dancer on live TV, the media erupted. Morning shows debated, parents groups protested, his scheduled performances were canceled overnight. Critics called him too much. Executives panicked. The message was unmistakable. The world wanted Adam's voice, but not his truth. So he adapted, just enough to survive. His debut album, For Your Entertainment, went platinum, and the hit single What Do You Want From Me was aired worldwide. But the Adam Lambert the public saw in those years was polished, easygoing, yet subdued. Still bold, yet cautious. He continued to perform, build a loyal fan base, and tour, but whispers of burnout followed. To many, it seemed like his time had passed. But for Adam, it was something else. He wasn't fading. He was recharging. In 2014, he made one of the most iconic comebacks in modern gay music history. He joined Queen. Stepping into Freddie Mercury's shadow should have been impossible, but Adam didn't try to replace Freddie. He has reimagined what it means to be a queer vocalist in the 21st century. Emotional, intense, and fearless. With Queen plus Adam Lambert, he has toured every continent, reclaiming a space in rock where queer voices have long been excluded. And he hasn't stopped there. In 2020, Adam released Velvet, a vibrant disco-inspired album that's unabashedly queer. Tracks like Roses and Superpower exude confidence and freedom, asserting his music, style, and identity as a whole. Fashion becomes part of the statement. Studded boots, latex gloves, metallic smoky eyes, and velvet suits that both whisper and scream, "Yes, I'm too much." And that's the point. By 2023, Adam is no longer a novelty or a scandal. His London Pride headline performance proved it. He's not some old-school TV talent show stereotype. He's the modern-day gay pop rock star. And with every lyric, every gem, every defiant step, he reminded the world that their attempts to diminish him have failed. As he said on the World Pride stage, "They told me to tone it down. Now I have to raise it up." Adam Lambert's comeback wasn't a big moment. It was a steady, powerful take-back of the spotlight. His way. He didn't just survive the backlash. He turned it into fuel. He didn't just cling to fame. He turned it into a legacy. Drop a comment if Adam Lambert reminds you that true stars never fade. They evolve, they shine, and when they return stronger, brighter, and bolder than ever. A voice that could shatter glass and mend hearts in the same note, but behind the curtain, a story of retreat, reinvention, and one of the most shocking queer comebacks in pop history. Born in London, Sam's rise seemed effortless. Their breakout single, Stay With Me, in 2014 made them an instant global star. Grammys followed, stadium tours sold out, and the world knew their name. But with fame came pressure, and with pressure came silence. After the whirlwind success of their debut, Sam vanished from the spotlight for nearly 2 years. No new albums, no big tours, just a quiet withdrawal. Behind closed doors, they were battling personal struggles, body image, identity, and the crushing weight of fame that arrived too fast, too soon. For fans, the absence was heartbreaking. Was Sam gone for good? Could a voice that powerful be muted by self-doubt? In 2017, Sam Smith answered with a song that silenced every doubt, Too Good at Goodbyes. The single wasn't just a comeback, it was a confession. Vulnerable, stripped down, aching with emotion, it reminded the world why Sam mattered in the first place. The track soared to #1 in multiple countries and marked a rebirth. This was not the same artist who had left. This was someone who had lived through the storm and returned stronger, sharper, more themselves. But the reinvention didn't stop there. In 2019, Sam came out as non-binary, embracing they-them pronouns and stepping into their truth in full view of the world. For an artist with a massive mainstream following, it was a bold declaration. And instead of shrinking their audience, it expanded it, because authenticity resonates louder than any chart position. Then came 2022, and with it, an explosion. Unholy, Sam's duet with Kim Petras, was unlike anything they had ever released before. Dark, provocative, pulsing with unapologetic queerness, it was a shock to the system. The visuals were bold, the performances theatrical, and the lyrics dripping with rebellion. For some, it was too much. For others, it was everything they had been waiting for. The song went viral on TikTok, topped charts worldwide, and earned Sam and Kim a Grammy, the first ever awarded to a non-binary artist and a trans woman together. Overnight, Sam transformed from ballad singer to queer pop provocateur. Fashion became part of the spectacle. Latex, sequins, corsets, and daring red carpet looks that challenged gender norms and ignited conversation. Some critics clutched their pearls. Sam just smiled and turned the volume higher. What makes Sam Smith's comeback shocking isn't only the music, it's the journey. They walked away at the height of success, faced their demons, embraced their identity, and returned as one of the most unapologetic queer icons of our time. They showed that reinvention doesn't mean erasing your past. It means owning it, then building something bigger, bolder, and braver on top of it. Sam's story is a reminder that in the LGBTQ+ community, visibility is power. Courage isn't always loud. It's sometimes found in stepping back, healing, and then stepping forward with fire in your eyes. Because Sam Smith didn't just come back. They came back unholy, unstoppable, and unforgettable. And now, we want to hear from you. What country are you watching this video from? Drop it in the comments and tell us which of these shocking comebacks inspires you the most. The cowboy who rode into history, disappeared into doubt, and then came back blazing hotter than anyone expected. When Old Town Road exploded in 2019, it wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. The country trap hybrid shattered streaming records, topped charts for 19 consecutive weeks, and turned a teenager from Atlanta into an overnight global superstar. Kids were singing it, grandparents were dancing to it, even country radio, at first reluctant, couldn't resist. But as the dust settled, one question haunted him. Was he just a novelty? A one-hit wonder riding a horse he couldn't keep saddled? For nearly 2 years, the whispers grew louder. Lil Nas X was funny on Twitter, sharp with memes. But musically, people doubted he had staying power. The industry has a long history of discarding young black artists and an even longer history of sidelining queer ones. The pressure was immense. For a while, it seemed like Old Town Road might be both the beginning and the end. And then, in 2021, Lil Nas X answered in the only way he knew how, by detonating the conversation. His single Montero, Call Me By Your Name, wasn't just a song, it was a cultural earthquake. With its hypnotic beat and defiant lyrics, he planted his flag firmly as a queer artist unwilling to hide. But it was the music video that lit the fire. Sliding down a stripper pole into hell, grinding on the devil, then seizing the crown for himself, it was outrageous, provocative, and unapologetically queer. Critics fumed. Conservative commentators declared war. Churches called it blasphemy. And Lil Nas X laughed all the way to the top of the Billboard charts. In one stroke, he silenced the one-hit wonder narrative and crowned himself as one of the most creative and daring artists of his generation. He wasn't content to just make hits. He wanted to make statements, and every move since has reinforced that mission. From performing pregnant on magazine covers to wearing golden armor at the Met Gala, Lil Nas X turned shock into strategy, controversy into currency. But behind the spectacle is something deeper. For Gen Z queer kids, Montero wasn't just entertainment, it was liberation. Seeing a young, black, openly gay man dominate mainstream music while fully embracing his sexuality sent a message. You don't have to conform to win. You can own every part of yourself, and the world will have no choice but to notice. That's what makes Lil Nas X's comeback so powerful. He took the risk of being outrageous because he understood that representation has to be bold to break through. He wasn't afraid to be laughed at, hated, or misunderstood because he knew the impact was bigger than any one headline. From the dusty roads of a country rap experiment to the fiery spectacle of Montero, Lil Nas X has redefined what it means to come back. He didn't just prove the doubters wrong. He built a career on defiance, creativity, and unshakable confidence. Lil Nas X is living proof that sometimes the most shocking comebacks aren't polite. They're disruptive, unapologetic, and unforgettable. And if you believe queer artists deserve to shine even brighter, make sure you hit subscribe, ring that notification bell, and share this video so more people can celebrate these legendary comebacks with us. So there you have it, the stars who disappeared, the stars who stumbled, and the stars who came back stronger than ever. They proved that a comeback isn't about noise, it's about courage, authenticity, and the power to rise again. Now it's your turn. Which comeback touched you the most? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters, your story matters. And together, we keep these comebacks alive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next story that inspires, surprises, and reminds us why queer icons can never be silenced. When the glamour exploded and celebrities revealed secrets that could burn down their empires, the world not only listened, but gasped. Today, we count down the 10 most shocking gay confessions that rocked the world. From tearful revelations to jaw-dropping confessions, these are not just stories of sex, but also stories of power, rebellion, and rewritten legacies. And trust me, the fourth story will blow your mind. Stay tuned, because you won't believe what you're about to hear. When it comes to shocking gay celebrity confessions these days, few moments have rocked the internet like Noah Schnapp. Known to the world as Will Byers on Netflix's Stranger Things, Noah has spent years shining. Fans adore his youthful charm, talent, and the way he brings raw vulnerability to one of the most beloved series of all time. To millions, he was simply the good boy next door, until a TikTok video changed everything. In January 2023, at just 18 years old, Noah looked straight into the camera, smiling nervously, and made a shocking confession. On screen, the words flashed. When I finally told my friends and family I was gay after 18 years of being scared in the closet, all they said was, "We knew." The words exploded like a cultural firework. There was no flashy press release, no magazine cover. Just a normal confession on TikTok. And suddenly, the world saw Noah Schnapp in a whole new light. Why was it so shocking? Because Noah didn't just come out. He shattered expectations of how celebrities should present themselves. In decades past, stars had risked their careers, their endorsements, even their safety by coming out. Noah completely ignored the rigid rules. There was no manager, there was no deception, just honesty. And instead of backlash, he was met with an overwhelming wave of love. Millions of fans commented, "We love you. This means a lot. Thank you for helping me accept myself." His confession proved that Hollywood's rules have changed. The revelation also blurred the line between fiction and reality. For years, audiences have speculated whether Noah's character Will Byers was actually gay. The subtle glances, the quiet loneliness, the weight of unspoken emotions, it was all there. Then Noah himself admitted, "I guess I'm more Will than I thought." Suddenly, the character and the actor's reality merged, creating a moment of culture shock that could not have been better written. But what made the confession unforgettable wasn't just who Noah was, it was the timing. At 18, still green in the industry, he risked it all before his career had even reached its peak. That courage sent a message to all the young gay people watching. You don't have to wait decades, you don't have to live in silence, and you don't have to apologize for being yourself. Since that TikTok, Noah's image has changed. No longer the shy kid, he looks more confident, edgy, and free. In photo shoots, he experiments with different styles. In interviews, he laughs about how his friends already knew. The boy who once hid behind silence is now redefining what honesty means for his generation. But the power of his confession lies in its simplicity. Noah isn't exaggerating his pain or staging a media drama, he's just stating the truth. And that's why it's shocking. Because in an industry built on illusion, a teenager's raw honesty is revolutionary. Noah Schnapp's coming out was more than a headline, it was a cultural watershed. It showed how far we've come from the days when being gay could ruin a career. It proved that a new generation of celebrities can be open, proud, and celebrated, not shamed. And it reminded us that sometimes the most shocking revelations aren't scandals, but simple truths told at the right time. So when we talk about shocking gay celebrity coming outs today, Noah comes out on top, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Because it inspired millions, and because it proves that in 2025, honesty can be the most powerful and shocking coming out of all. If Noah Schnapp's confession was a bolt from the blue from Gen Z, our next story comes from the same storm, but with a completely different energy. Enter Zane Phillips, a tall, impossibly handsome actor whose career has exploded in recent years. If Noah made us wonder about the truth about the boy next door, Zane embodies something else entirely, the defiant charm of a man who refuses to hide. For many fans, Zane's rise to fame seemed to come overnight. One day he was a rising star in small projects, the next he was the shining star of Netflix's Glamorous and a familiar face on Hollywood's gay red carpets. His sharp jawline, infectious smile, and magnetic presence made him an instant fan favorite. But it wasn't just his appearance that stunned audiences. It was the bold way he expressed his sexuality in an industry still grappling with old stereotypes. Unlike previous stars who were advised to be more conservative, Zane entered the entertainment industry with a real life. In interviews, he opened up about being gay, about the difficulties of growing up in a conservative environment, and about wondering if his honesty would cost him his career. Instead, honesty became his weapon. Hollywood didn't punish him, Hollywood wanted him, and his fans couldn't get enough. What made Zane's confession so shocking wasn't that he was gay. It was how he turned the tables. He refused to keep it a secret from the start. He admits that early on his agencies warned him to be careful about discussing his sexuality too publicly, especially if he wanted to play a leading man. But Zane ignored those warnings. He chose to step into the spotlight with everything he had, gay, confident, and fearless. And in doing so, he redefined what a leading man looks like in 2025. His red carpet appearances became events in themselves. At one premiere, he showed up in a tailored suit and a flimsy silk shirt, daring the cameras to turn away. At another, he He confidently donned a jewel-toned velvet suit that shimmered under the flashbulbs. Fans erupted on Twitter and TikTok, calling him the new face of Hollywood gay masculinity, one who combines classic charm with unabashed authenticity. But Zayn's influence runs deeper than fashion. His interviews reveal a man deeply aware of the responsibility he carries. "I grew up not seeing myself on screen," he once said. "If I can do that for other people, then I've won." The quote has been shared thousands of times online, woven into videos of gay teens talking about how his presence gives them hope. He's no longer just an actor. He's an agent. This shocking admission isn't dramatic or tearful. It's calm, almost effortless. He doesn't sit through a primetime special or release a choreographed video. Instead, Zayn sees his sexuality as the most natural thing in the world, because it is. And for fans accustomed to decades of stars hiding in the shadows, that normalcy is a breakthrough. So if Noah Schnapp's story shows us the courage of breaking the silence, Zayn Phillips shows us the power of never being silent in the first place. Together, they represent two sides of a revolution sweeping across the entertainment industry today, one of confession and one of defiance. But now, I want to know, how does Zayn's story resonate with you? Do you see him as the future of Hollywood masculinity, or a reminder that being authentic is the boldest confession? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. When David Archuleta first captured America's hearts on American Idol in 2008, he was just 17 years old. Shy, soft-spoken, and with a voice that sounded like a prayer whispered from heaven. Fans immediately hailed him as the angel next door, a young man who exuded innocence and humility whenever he sang. For years, that image never wavered. He shied away from controversy, remained deeply religious, and carried himself with the air of someone destined to be loved, safe, and untouchable. But in 2025, David shattered that carefully crafted image with a confession that shook millions. No longer the shy teen idol, he revealed himself as a man unafraid to be himself. In a tearful and honest Instagram video, David came out as a member of the LGBTQ+ community. He admitted that for years he had begged God to erase his feelings, convinced that they were sinful. He even tried to fix himself by considering marrying a woman, even though deep down he knew he could never fully love her. "I thought if I married a woman it would fix me," he confessed. But all it did was break us both. The sincerity of the moment struck a chord not just with his religious fan base, but also with the entire queer community. People praised his courage in speaking openly about the pain of growing up queer in conservative religious spaces, a world that often tells young people to erase who they actors. David's journey didn't end with that video, however. In subsequent interviews, he shared that coming out wasn't a single event, but rather a long and painful process of overcoming shame. He admitted that he still struggles with guilt and fear, confessing, "There are days when I wonder if I'm letting God down by accepting who I am. But then I remember, God made me this way." Shortly after, David went viral again when he posted a TikTok of himself singing Troye Sivan's Heaven, captioning it, "This song sounds so different when I'm finally being true to myself." Fans flooded the comments with messages like, "I've waited my whole life to hear David Archuleta sing as his true self." And they were right, something had changed. His appearance had changed too. Gone is the shy boy in the button-down shirt. Instead, he's a man in pastel sweaters and layers of gold chains, his messy black hair falling over his high cheekbones. He still exudes an angelic air, but now it's laced with the quiet confidence of someone who's overcome silence and chosen authenticity. In addition to his music, David has turned his platform into a lifeline for young gay people trapped in the same cycle of guilt and fear he once felt. "If I had seen someone like me growing up, I probably wouldn't have felt so alone," he said in a recent interview. The quote has gone viral on TikTok and Instagram, written by creators who share their struggles with faith and queerness. His story has become bigger than his music. It's become a mirror of survival and hope. Because David Archuleta isn't just a pop star with a post-coming-out message. He's an icon who's proven that honesty can be scarier than the highest note he's ever sung, and infinitely more powerful. In a world that demands his silence, David chooses to sing louder. So tell me, did David's confession send shivers down your spine today? And more importantly, where in the world are you watching this right now? If Australia has ever produced the perfect TV heartthrob, that title once belonged to Hugh Sheridan. For years, audiences adored him as the dreamy Ben Rafter from Packed to the Rafters. That surfer boy smile, golden skin kissed by the sun, and a body seemingly built for beaches and daydreams. He was the definition of Australia's golden boy. But this year, Hugh Sheridan shattered that image with a confession that proved he's far more than another pretty face crafted by television. In an emotional interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, Hugh revealed that he identifies as non-binary and bisexual, refusing to let labels shrink or limit his experience of love. Fans were stunned. Many had assumed that his long history of dating women meant he was straight. But Hugh cut through the illusion with honesty. "I've always been attracted to both men and women. People see what they want to see." For the first time, the mask was gone. He went deeper, exposing the cost of silence in an unforgiving industry. There were years when he was told to act more straight or to skip certain events that might spark rumors. Imagine living your life dimming who you are just to protect your next paycheck. That was Hugh's reality, until now. And then came the moment that lit up the internet. Hugh married his fiancée, Kurt Roberts, in a private rooftop ceremony in Sydney. The photos showed two men glowing with love, dressed in matching cream suits and crisp white shirts, unbuttoned at the collar, gold chains catching the sunset. Fans didn't just see a wedding, they saw Australia's queer power couple, unapologetic and radiant. But the real shock wasn't the wedding, it was Hugh's confession afterward. In a raw Instagram post, he admitted, "I'm not gay enough for some, not straight enough for others, but I'm enough for me, and for him. That's all that matters." Within hours, the post racked up over 300,000 likes, with thousands of young queer people thanking him for showing that labels can empower, but they can also suffocate if forced on you. Since then, Hugh's aesthetic has evolved alongside his truth. Gone is the clean-cut boy-next-door look. Now he embraces daring fashion. Photographed in a sheer black Balmain shirt, tucked into wide-legged linen trousers, hair slicked back, gold hoop earrings swinging with confidence. Fans call him the queer luxury surfer king. Beyond acting, Hugh has become an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ mental health. He launched a podcast exploring masculinity, queerness, and the emotional cost of performance and entertainment. "I want young queer kids to see someone like me living fully, loving loudly, and knowing that your worth isn't tied to who you sleep with or how you dress," he said. By now, we've seen confessions from rising actors and beloved idols. But our next story takes us to a place very different from Hollywood sets and talent shows, the raw, unfiltered world of YouTube. And at the center of it is Connor Franta, the digital pioneer who turned his own truth into a cultural milestone. Back in the early 2010s, Connor was just another kid with a camera and a dream. His YouTube channel was filled with quick cuts, awkward humor, and the kind of quirky charm that drew millions of teens searching for someone relatable. He wasn't a movie star or a pop idol. He was the boy you felt like you knew, the boy who could have been sitting next to you in class. By 2015, Connor had skyrocketed to fame, amassing millions of subscribers, book deals, and even launching his own clothing line. He was living the influencer dream before influencer was even a word. But behind the smiling thumbnails and the perfectly lit videos was a secret Connor kept locked away. He was gay, and the pressure to keep that secret nearly crushed him. In his memoir, he later admitted that the weight of pretending pushed him into spirals of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. He was a superstar in the digital space, yet he felt completely alone. Then came the confession that shocked an entire generation. In December 2014, Connor uploaded a simple video titled "Coming Out." No flashy edits, no dramatic background music, just him, sitting in front of the camera, speaking his truth. "I'm gay," he said, his voice trembling. In that moment, millions of fans saw not just a YouTuber, but a young man taking one of the scariest steps of his life in real time. The impact was immediate and explosive. Within days, the video had millions of views. Comment sections flooded with messages from teens who whispered that Connor's honesty had given them the courage to accept themselves. News outlets called it one of the most influential YouTube videos of the decade. For a generation growing up online, his confession wasn't just content, it was salvation. What makes Connor's story stand out is how he transformed vulnerability into strength. Instead of letting the confession end with applause, he used it as a beginning. His follow-up memoir, A Work in Progress, became a bestseller, chronicling his journey through identity, creativity, and mental health. He launched charitable campaigns for LGBTQ+ youth, raised money for suicide prevention, and started using his platform to tackle conversations most influencers avoided. And yet, Connor never lost his artistic edge. His Instagram evolved into a gallery of moody portraits and minimalist aesthetics, mixing photography with poetry. Fans began to see him not only as a YouTuber, but as an artist in his own right, someone who blurred the line between influencer and visionary. His queer identity wasn't a footnote. It became a central part of his artistry. But perhaps the most shocking part of Connor's confession was how he admitted that even after coming out, the journey wasn't over. In later interviews, he spoke about how fear lingered, how shame had left scars that honesty alone couldn't erase. Coming out is not one moment, he explained. It's a series of moments every single day, where you choose to be yourself. That raw honesty cut deeper than any viral video ever could. Connor Franta is no longer just the kid with a camera. He's an author, entrepreneur, and advocate who turned his private struggle into public inspiration. His story reminds us that shocking confessions aren't always about celebrity scandals. They're about bravery, about choosing authenticity when the world profits from your silence. Connor showed that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power. And his legacy proves that the internet's biggest gift isn't fame. It's connection. Because in the end, Connor Franta's confession didn't just change his life. It changed the lives of millions who realized, maybe for the first time, that they weren't alone. So far, we've talked about actors, idols, and influencers. But our next story takes us deep into the heart of country music, a world not always welcoming to queer voices. This is the story of Billy Gilman, the child prodigy who lost everything, only to return stronger with a confession that shocked the very industry that once tried to silence him. Billy's journey began almost like a fairy tale. At just 11 years old, he became a sensation with his debut single, One Voice. That song, about speaking out against violence and finding hope, catapulted him into the spotlight. With a voice that soared beyond his years, Billy became the youngest artist ever to reach the top 40 on the country charts. Fans loved him, critics adored him, and Nashville labeled him the future of country music. But the magic didn't last. As Billy grew older, the industry that once celebrated his innocence began to turn its back. His voice changed, his image no longer fit the mold, and behind closed doors, whispers grew louder. He was different. And in an industry built on cowboy hats and straight, small-town love stories, different wasn't marketable. For years, Billy struggled in silence. He tried to fit the mold, recording songs that didn't reflect his truth, living a life carefully staged to protect his career. But the strain was unbearable. He later admitted that the constant fear of being outed left him depressed, isolated, and on the edge of walking away from music forever. Then came 2014, the year everything changed. In a heartfelt YouTube video, Billy looked straight into the camera and finally said the words he had held in for so long. "It's difficult for me to make this video, not because I'm ashamed of being gay, but because I'm so used to hiding." The country music world stopped in its tracks. A former child star, once its golden boy, had confessed to the very truth it had trained him to bury. The reaction was immediate and divided. Some fans embraced him with open arms, celebrating his bravery. Others turned away, reinforcing the very fear that had kept him silent for so long. But Billy didn't back down. For the first time in years, he felt free. And then, like something out of a movie, Billy staged one of the most remarkable comebacks in music history. In 2016, he auditioned for The Voice, standing before Adam Levine, Blake Shelton, Miley Cyrus, and Alicia Keys. The boy who once conquered country radio was now a man reclaiming his gift. His performance of Adele's When We Were Young stunned the judges, earning him a 4-chair turn and a standing ovation. Millions watched as Billy reminded the world that his voice was still one of the finest of his generation. By the end of the season, he had finished as runner-up, but in the eyes of fans, he had already won something far greater. Redemption. He was no longer just the kid who disappeared. He was the man who came back stronger, louder, and unapologetically himself. Billy's story is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful voice isn't the one hitting the highest note, it's the one finally singing the truth. And if his journey inspired you, don't forget to support this channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, so together we can keep shining light on the most shocking confessions of today's celebrities. Joe Lycett has always been Britain's most daring comedian. A man with a sharp sense of humor, a mischievous grin, and jokes that can make even the most jaded of audiences crack up. But this month, Joe's confession reminded the world that humor is more than entertainment. It can be a weapon, and it can be revolutionary. In Channel 4's documentary Joe Lycett, an Oil Giant, Joe accidentally revealed a truth that no one expected. With his signature smirk, he admitted, "I'm attracted to all genders, and I don't care what's in anyone's pants." For many fans, it was the first time Joe had addressed his sexual orientation so directly. Pansexual. And while the word itself isn't shocking, it's the fact that he's kept this part of himself hidden behind the walls of comedy that's truly shocking. Joe explains why. "I joke about Grindr, about gay friends, about the rainbow flag, but rarely about myself. It's safer to keep the laughter out." For years, comedy has been his shield, his disguise, but this time, he's taken off his mask. True to Joe, his truth lies as much in his daring social activism as it does in his sense of humor. He went viral during the World Cup with a viral rant about Qatar's anti-LGBTQ+ laws. On camera, he apparently spent £10,000, around $12,000, protesting David Beckham's ambassadorial contract, all while strutting around in a bubblegum pink Versace suit. Fans call it the pinnacle of activism, a bold blend of comedy, protest, and unabashed queerness. Since then, Joe's aesthetic has evolved into the clean elegance of a gay summer camp. In recent photo shoots, he's worn an oversized cream Balenciaga hoodie, accented with a diamond tennis necklace. At other times, he's donned a tailored emerald green suit, paired with tiny heels. His energy? A mix of cool British boy and chaotic gay uncle and black Amex. Chic, loud, and completely different. But what makes Joe so compelling isn't just his fashion or his protests, it's his authenticity. He admits that coming out freed him from years of insecurity. For years, I worried that people wouldn't take me seriously if they knew I was gay. But actually, they take me more seriously now, because they know I'm telling the truth. The quote went viral on TikTok, reposted by thousands of gay users, thanking him for helping bring pansexuality to mainstream British media. And when asked if he felt brave, Joe's answer was simple and unforgettable. "I'm not brave. I'm just tired of lying." That raw honesty was more poignant than any joke. Because ultimately, what's most compelling about Joe Lycett isn't his style, his wit, or his reputation. It's the effortless confidence of a man who refuses to be cowed by anyone. Joe Lycett is no longer just a funny guy on TV. He's a comedian who can laugh out loud, then silence hearts with a confession not just about sex, but about power, freedom, and living life to the fullest. For millions of people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, Paul Reubens was more than just an actor. He was Pee Wee Herman, the eccentric man with the unforgettable laugh, red bow tie, and wild adventures defined childhood television. But this year, decades after his rise to fame, a confession resurfaced that shocked fans and reshaped his entire legacy. In an old interview, now making headlines after his death, Paul hinted at his sexuality more directly than ever. For years, rumors about his personal life circulated, but he always shied away from labels, preferring Pee Wee's asexual eccentricities to actual questions. But in this unearthed clip, Paul softly says, "I've loved a lot of people in my life. Some were men, some were women. Love was never a question for me. It just happened." Fans were shocked. Some felt betrayed for not knowing sooner. Others were heartbroken that he had to go into hiding. But most felt deep empathy, because behind the goofy smile and bow tie was a man forced to stay silent in an industry where even a hint of femininity could end your career. Even in real life, Paul's aesthetic has been a defining LGBTQ+ trait long before the world had a word for it. Crisp pastel suits, patent leather loafers, trousers cut just enough to show off brightly patterned socks. His style had a timeless camp feel, years before camp became a Met Gala theme. And as fans mourned his death, new stories emerged. Tales of Paul's quiet generosity to LGBTQ youth charities and AIDS research in the 80s. Donations he requested remain anonymous. "It wasn't for the fame," a friend recalled him saying. "It was to help my community survive." That quiet compassion was as much a part of him as the laughter he brought to millions. But his truth was more than glamour. It was about a life lived freely and lovingly while performing under a mask. In private letters recently shared by friends, Paul wrote, "If I had to do it all over again, I would still choose to make people laugh, but I would also choose to love openly." Those words sparked a flood of gratitude across TikTok and Twitter, with queer creators thanking him for being a pioneering, albeit quiet, beacon of sexiness in an era when that alone was radical. Because Pee Wee wasn't just a kid's comedy, he was a queer-coded rebellion in a dark mainstream world. Paul Reubens proved that sometimes the brightest entertainers carry the heaviest secrets. And even without a grand coming out speech, his life showed us that loving the people you love is a quiet revolution. No labels needed, just the courage to live. Drop an 8 if Paul Rubens' quiet truth broke your heart today. When you think of country music, the image that comes to mind rarely includes outspoken queer allies, let alone artists willing to challenge the norms of sexuality. But this year, Maren Morris flipped that stereotype on its head with a confession that left fans stunned and country radio scrambling to keep up. In a raw, unfiltered interview on the RuPaul's Drag Race podcast, Maren spoke candidly about her sexuality, saying, "I've always felt a little bit on the spectrum. I love people for who they are. I've never felt totally straight or totally anything." For fans used to her flirty anthems about cowboy heartbreak and barroom romance, this was a revelation they never saw coming. But for those who had followed her journey closely, the clues were always there. Her lyrics often played with gender-neutral longing, and her style had long since evolved beyond Nashville glam. This month, she stunned the internet with a high-fashion editorial photo shoot, an oversized black Gucci blazer draped over a sheer lace bodysuit, chunky diamond hoops, and slicked-back wet hair. The caption, "Femme, mask, both, neither." Fans called it queer luxury cowboy realness, and it instantly went viral. But Maren's confession went deeper than aesthetics. She spoke openly about how the country music industry forced her to conform to narrow definitions of femininity just to sell records. "I felt like I had to be the tiny blonde with perfect curls, singing about men who break your heart," she admitted, when really, "I just wanted to sing about anyone who breaks your heart." Her honesty sparked intense debate online. Queer country fans praised her bravery, while conservative critics accused her of ruining the genre. But Maren didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down, announcing her departure from Columbia Nashville to pursue more fluid, experimental pop projects. To Rolling Stone, she put it simply, "If being myself means leaving the table, then I'll build my own table." And she meant it. At Los Angeles Pride this year, Maren took the stage for the first time, wearing a rhinestone-studded white cowboy hat and a matching two-piece fringe set that glittered under rainbow spotlights. Her closing performance of Girl was dedicated to every person who ever felt too much, too loud, too colorful. Videos of the performance racked up millions of views overnight, with fans flooding the comments. "She's the queer cowboy princess we never knew we needed." Maren Morris proves that being hot isn't about fitting Nashville's narrow mold. It's about breaking the mold entirely. True sex appeal is confidence, rebellion, and the courage to burn down the rules that keep you small. Drop a 10 if Maren Morris just became your new queer country crush. From David Archuleta's Tears to Hugh Sheridan's Freedom, Joe Lycett's fearless laughter to Paul Rubens' quiet truth, and Maren Morris rewriting the rules of country music, these stories prove that the bravest act isn't fame, it's honesty. So tell me, which confession resonated with you the most? Leave their number in the comments and share your voice. And if you think these truths deserve attention, subscribe and share this video, because the more we shine, the brighter